Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar on Principles of Business Valuation. I am Nastine Bueta, and I will be hosting the session for you today and facilitating the learning. So, who on earth am I? Why do I get to lead us through the session? I'm Nastine Bueta. I'm a registered chartered accountant. I am one of the co-founders of Explore Protech Entrepreneurial Haven, one of the nominees of the top 35 under 35 chartered accountants, one of the top 50 women in accounting, and I have an absolute passion for training. I love training accountants and training entrepreneurs. I've taught at various universities, including the University of Cape Town and the Northwest University and a couple of others. I've taught accountants and MBA students. And so whenever the South African Accounting Academy needs a trainer or a facilitator to address some important topics in the profession, they usually contact me, and I'm more than happy to come and spend the time with you guys. So, if you do like the way that I train and you would like to get in touch, you're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel that I make for entrepreneurs on various topics with other entrepreneurs. So there are some business valuation things on there, but also just a lot of other general things like how to market yourself as an entrepreneur, beta testing, collaboration, networking, everything you can think of. So you're more than welcome to connect with me, and I am going to try my utmost best to make sure that the time that we spend together this morning is fruitful and that we all walk away from this with as much value as possible. So on that note, if you've been to any of my previous training sessions, you would know I love encouraging audience participation and collaborative learning. I'm very much into us learning together as a group, simply because that keeps everyone in the actual room engaged, and it helps all of us learn from each other. So if at any point in time you have anything come up for you, like a practical scenario, a question, a comment, if you want to add some value or if you want to ask for some value, just please go ahead and do that in the chat, and I'll try to incorporate you in the session as much as possible, and we'll take it from there. So let's try to keep it engaging and encouraging and a safe space, and let's learn a lot from each other. Okay? Cool. The last thing I want to do is actually bore you guys to death this morning, so let's not go for that. Okay, but in terms of what we're actually going to be learning today, we're looking at principles of business valuations. So for those of you that was at my previous performing business valuation session a while ago, it's still on the South African Accounting Academy website. You can go and access it there. That is where I went into detail on the practical application of some of the most common used business valuation methods, like the discounted cash flow method. We went into detail and it was very, very practical. So if that's what you're looking for, that would be a great session for that. This session is more for getting an overview of the most important principles of business valuations. So we will look at some of the methods that are most commonly used and how to use them, but the focus throughout this whole training session is very much going to be on the principles, the things we need to consider, what we need to be thinking about when performing a business valuation or reviewing a business valuation, the stuff we need to be saying to our clients when we're taking on the actual business valuation. So it's all about getting back to the nitty-gritty and the principles. So if you were hoping for a very, very practical session, there is a very practical session. It's called Performing Business Valuations, and it's on the South African Accounting Academy website. I was a trainer for that. This is more the theoretical but practical principles part. Okay, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, let's see how it goes. So by the end of this webinar, what I want you to be able to do is understand the business valuation principles to be taken into account when valuing an asset, including using the market approach, income approach, and cost approach. So we'll talk about all the different approaches. We'll talk about some of the principles and the most important concepts that surround this very interesting professional field of practice called business valuations, and we'll take it from there. And then we'll also talk through the different approaches and see what are the important principles to remember when we're actually practically implementing the approach. So the reason for this webinar and focusing so much on the actual principles is because, well, one, we've already done the very practical side, but two, about 80% of business valuations is down to really strategically thinking through it and knowing about all of the important principles that you need to take into account in order to plan this type of engagement. It's a lot like auditing, where it's all about discovery and the investigative process and putting together like a piece of evidence that is persuasive and proving your valuation opinion. The actual practical calculations, like once you have that down, that's about 20% of the work. The other 80% is literally the integrated thinking, and that's what we're doing today. Okay, so that's the reason for why we're doing this. I hope that excites you. Okay. So in terms of the modules that I've put together for this session, module 1 will look at the introduction. So why do people need valuations? We'll just recap on that. The importance of understanding the purpose of the actual valuation, some important concepts that we need to be familiar with and understand completely. Then in module 2, I put together a little valuation disclosure checklist for you. So whenever you're doing your working papers that support your valuation opinions, this is probably things that you want on there. And even when you're doing your valuation report, this is what I would expect to find in a proper valuation report. Then in module 3, we'll look at the different types of value. You might be surprised. Hopefully you're not surprised, but you might be. There are a lot. So we'll look at all of those. And then we'll go on to module 4, where we actually discuss again with each other, okay, what are the actual valuation approaches that we can follow? What is available? What is commonly being used in the market by professionals that are performing valuation work? And then we'll do module 5, 6, and 7. So the 3 different most common used approaches: the market approach, the income approach, and the cost approach. And in each of the approaches, we will look at the methods that are available to us when we're implementing that kind of approach. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Please try to stay engaged. Like I said, talk to each other, add comments, think of practical scenarios where you had to deal with something like this. Let's keep it engaging and really try to think through the different concepts. Then this will go swimmingly. Okay, so the quote I have for you today to set the tone for our training session and our time we're going to spend with each other is from the Little Book of Valuation: How to Value a Company, Pick a Stock, and Profit. So yes, there is a little book of valuations, which is quite cool. This is one of my favorite quotes. It says, Einstein was right about relativity, but even he would have had a difficult time applying relative valuation in today's stock markets. Yeah, I thought that was very apt because it's just valuations is such an interesting field. You know, we have all of these precise guidelines and calculations and methods and approaches that we can apply, but at the same time, it's actually It's all relative. So it's all about the way that you think about the concepts, the way that you apply the principles.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.